All right, guys, 7 o'clock Eastern time, and wherever you are, you're at the right time. All right, we'll do to start off, we'll do a brief round of intros. If you want to, you can pass. If you don't want to do it, just say pass. And just your name and where you're from, what part of the planet you're on. And if you want to talk about an experience with out of body, lucid dreaming, astral projection, share a little bit, intro with the group, you're more than welcome to do so. And so I'm Juice. I'm calling out of hosting out of New York here, hanging out with my father. And we've got a big snowstorm here right now. We got on our way to 2 feet of snow here, so it's kind of cozy hanging out doing this. I've been interested in astral projection for, gosh, 30 years now. And to experience my first major out-of-body experience, it took me, which is different for everybody, but it took me about 20 years before I actually experienced my own out-of-body experience of on and off practice through the years. And right now, I've been busy helping out my father during the pandemic and stuff, so I'm really getting back into it. But the times that I don't practice, I don't really experience much. So I kind of miss it. And it kind of bothers me that I've been practicing now for a few weeks and had like 1 or 2 out-of-body experiences, but nothing that exciting to me. They're very, very brief. So I really enjoy doing this with everybody that comes because it really helps me get back into it. And I hope it helps you guys get back into it too, if you're out of it or if you're doing it right now to learn something new or share with everybody in the group your experiences and what you're doing to help other people out that have the drive to do this. So I'll pass this on now to, is it really? Unmute
Yeah.
yourself. There you go.
Is that me?
That's
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, oh gosh, I'm first and I don't know anything about this. Okay. So, I'm in Texas and we had, sunshine and, blue skies today, dear. I have a, I have a son in Boston, so I know what you guys are going through. It's my first time here. Out of body, I don't know. I'm an NDE. That was quite a bit of out of body, way out of body. And that's about it. What I'm really interested in is lucid dreaming, only because I have some health issues and I understand maybe I can help myself with lucid dreaming. I'm not sure. So I'm just investigating this. And out of body doesn't really interest me that much in that it doesn't seem for me my need for it. I really need to be grounded more because after my NDE, I had a hard time coming back. So, yeah, so I'm just here to learn. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Susan?
Well, I've been having out of body experience since I was about 4 or 5 years old. I had a brief period. I had a period of about 8 years from about the time I was about 11 or 12 years old that I just was a teenager and I didn't do any of it. And it was too weird to even talk about to anybody. So I had a period of time where I really didn't do much because I was busy being wild. But I came back when I was about 20, it started again. And so I've done it for so long. I started to teach classes back about 20 years ago, I think. I gave my first class and I've done that off and on through the years since then, just teach classes in astral projection and other paranormal subjects. So, but this is my favorite probably of all because it's awesome.
All right, well, Peter does that. Ronnie?
Hello, everybody. I'm Ronnie. I am in Las Vegas, Nevada. Weather's like in the 50s, snow in the mountains, dry down in the valley. So it's not too bad. Can you guys hear me?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I had my first out-of-body experience around when I was 17. I was watching Space Odyssey 2001, and I had smoked a little, you know what, and next thing I knew, I was looking at myself sitting on the bed, and that really freaked me out. But I immediately knew what happened, and uh, I had a couple of experiences after that, but it really started getting going when I was about 21. I was falling out of my body. I was seeing different things. I did a lot of falling out, floating into the floor type stuff. And then I started, I would say in my 30s, somewhere in that time frame, I started having sleep paralysis. And at first that was pretty scary because I didn't actually know what it was. So I started studying about what that was. And when I finally figured out that was basically the beginning of being able to have an out-of-body experience, I had to work on getting over the fear. And once I did that, then I started popping out whenever that would happen. Go to different places, test, flying around, test this and that, going through walls, stuff like that. So those would happen sporadically. And, but recently, in my opinion, it kind of went to a new level where I would leave this body and enter into another version of myself, and then leave from that body, which that was really something. So I've been kind of working on that now, trying to do that, to keep doing that. So now, different things happen. Sometimes, I'll sit up and it feels like I'm really just sitting up. And then I'll test it. I'm like, is this my real body or my astral body? And then I'll just float and I'm like, wow, I'm out, So that's kind of where I'm at with it now. I'm just testing new ways of getting out. I've done a lot of reading. I've found different techniques on how to get out. Doesn't happen all the time. I found that no drugs, no alcohol, no sedatives works the best. So that's kind of where I'm at with it now. And then eventually I kind of want to teach people who are having sleep paralysis what they're experiencing and what they can do with it. Because I know there's a lot of people out there that have no idea what's happening to them when that happens. And it can be pretty scary if you don't know, why that's happening. So that's me and where I'm at with it now.
All right, thank you. Thanks for coming.
Sure.
If you want, I put these up on YouTube. Chapter 2 I did. Susan has a good story about, she talked about different bodies she was coming out of and leaving, going into. So you could probably listen to that. It'll be interesting to you.
Yeah, I would like to see that.
Peter, did you get your mic working? Yeah.
Can you hear me now, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, when I don't have my speakers in, it's really hard to hear you. So, well, I've been interested in this for about 30 years. I'm encouraged to hear that Juice took him 20 years to have an experience. I guess I've been trying to do it been interested in it for about 30, but I guess I've been actively trying to do it for about 20. And have yet to really do it. So I well, that's about it. I hope that with these talks that I'll get closer and achieve it.
Cool. I can't wait to hear the story when you do it, Peter. Let's see, Eric, would you like to do an intro?
Sure. My name's Eric. I've always had this has always been in my dreams, but I've been able to float and fly. And this is like a recurring dream since over my entire life. Um, and more recently, I've been focused on trying to induce it. Okay. And, and I've, I've been able to make a connection to the acoustic record. And I understand there's a very strong relationship between the subconscious mind and what science is able to prove. Okay, so basically joining the left brain with the right brain, and I've been using um, the hemispheric tapes, and I'm able to. I started just using a binaural beats, and then I used the same one, no drugs, clean for 2 years, smoke a little weed, but that just gives me ideas and connects me to this alternate reality, okay, that exists in the cosmos. And we don't know what it is, right? But we know that we're able to connect to it. And so I was able to induce some visions, and I saw it, but I guess when I get to a certain state of joining in my mind, then I start to see things, right? And but there's always a cloud, right? So it's kind of like I could see through like a window, and there was like some dark figures there, and there was some light. And then one kept coming closer, and I was able to get more clarity in what I was able to see. And then, but the clouds keep coming in, and then it fades out. So on the last tapes, the last one I did a couple nights ago, I was able to get it to a state where I could see a blue light, and it was like kind of like a dawning over the horizon, and you could see the light, but it was blue. And yeah, and then it got kind of cloudy. So I mean, that's a little bit about me. Like I said, I'm trying to understand it and trying to induce it. Um, and I'm interested in seeing not just how this gift can help me, but how it can help humanity. And yeah, so I'm kind of on a quest for understanding and a quest for reality and becoming a part of it.
I hope this group answers some questions and helps.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff so far that I can relate to.
And we get into all that stuff and sharing ideas, and really helps.
Yeah, well, I've just found the Monroe tapes. I read that CIA paper, and it all kind of made sense, right?
Right.
And so yeah, I'm just digging deeper. I'm an ancient aliens addict like the rest of us. But I had done a lot of drugs in the past, and that's how I've connected. I've connected to it, and there's definitely a lot going on the other side that we don't know about, and it's all kind of starting to come together and how it works and what it actually is.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming tonight.
Yep, I'd appreciate any tips on how to release and go.
Yeah. Well, you'll get all kinds of information And if you missed some of the other episodes, you can always go check out the links, and I'll put them
Yeah.
on there later. You can see all the different areas we get into, some of the stuff you've been just talking about now. So
Yeah.
yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I joined this group about a year ago, right before the pandemic kind of started. And yeah, and then the pandemic happened and
Right.
everything changed for a bit. So I'm glad to to be a part of the group. Thank you.
Thanks. Steph and Jason.
What's up? Can you hear me?
Yep. Sound good.
Sweet. Sweet. So my name is Stephanie. I am co-host. Juice passed the group to me a number of years ago. Ronnie downplayed himself. Oh my God, we owe a lot to Ronnie. He is an inspiration because
you.
Ronnie was the one. You were the one that started in the Vegas Astral Projection group. You started the 90-day guide to Astral Projection as a challenge to put everyone together to motivate everyone to do it. And so we had no such ambition, like that was way too hard. But then you did it and you inspired us.
That's right, Ron. I forgot it. Wow, that's the Ronnie.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, I'm glad to be of any kind of help.
So yeah, thanks to you, we did take that 90-day book seriously and tried again and again and again, and then we finally actually succeeded. 5 of us anyway.
That gives me inspiration. Shoot.
Awesome. And yeah, actually 4 of the 5 are online tonight. So yeah, Juice and me and Jason and Paulina all survived the 90 days in 90 days. So let's see. Quick intro is
They'll do
had my
90 days and 90 days on this group too, like they do in AA.
It felt like it, man. Like,
Hey,
it
that's
was
what
it was
you
work.
hear, the meetings, man.
I guess it's like when it's a courtesan and you have to go every single day, 2 hours. So yeah, it was a great book, by the way. It's goes through affirmations, meditations, techniques, controlling your fears, what to expect, all kinds of stuff in a systematic way. Really recommend it, but only if you have the time. It was kind of hopeless for anyone that wasn't underemployed, it seems. That was what was most in common between the winners? Underemployment. But so anyway, yeah, I had my first astral projection when I was 13 and was really big on proof. I absolutely needed to have evidence to really bother much with it at all and to go any further with it. And so I saw that our chapter that we were to read is all about evidence. So that's wonderful. Yeah, evidence is huge. It's I can't really think of anything really similar, like astrology and crystal. All those things don't really have an easy method of verification to them, right? But this does, and that really breaks everything open and makes everything else possible. So it's a big deal to me. I read it was a big deal to Monroe. It's like either it's real or he's psychotic. He needs to give the whole thing up, right? So guess I'll pass to Jason.
Oh, sure. I can just talk louder.
Yeah, you gotta have evidence to support your claim. That's a big deal.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm Jason. I'm another co-host. I think there's 4 of us, including Mike. So I got started with this group on Juice's second meetup, way back in 2012, I think it was. I've been doing lucid dreaming since college, but it really wasn't until I met Stephanie in 2009 that really got keyed into astral projection as like, oh, that normal people can do that. So that was real cool. And I didn't have my first experience though until we did that 90-day guide. So thanks, Ronnie, for getting us all inspired.
My pleasure.
So yeah, I got out a couple. Man,
Didn't feel like a whole lot of work, but I'm happy that it helped.
it was worth it. Worth all the hours. So yeah, I got my verification, and you know, I guess I wasn't really looking for, but once I got it, I was pretty happy. And you know, you lose your fear of death, and that was a big deal. And so in the interim, we have all been quite lazy, and so it's good if we can get this thing kick started and get everybody excited again. And I'm looking forward to that.
Thanks to the pandemic.
Yeah.
I had a couple things I wanted to say, one to Ronnie and one to Eric. Ronnie had talked about the sleep paralysis and how you can use that, you know, for so many things. I used to try to do this. I mean, I used to practice this at least sometimes twice a day, 3 or 4 days a week. And I would wait, I would just lie down and wait for the vibrations to start or whatever, sleep paralysis, whatever. And I would wait for 3 hours if I had to, because eventually it starts. If you lay there for so long, your body wants to do something and it will just push you on out of body. If you're not sleepy, I mean, I really have waited for up to 3 hours before they started, but I was determined to do it, you know? So
Exactly.
all the time it takes. And then Eric, you mentioned Ancient Aliens. You watch Ancient Aliens too?
Oh yeah. I watched Ancient Aliens. I watched Braden. I listened to a lot of Watts,
Mhm. Yeah,
philosophy.
like Alan Watts, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm researching the ancient religions in Buddhism, and mainly in Buddhism.
I was interviewed 2.5 years ago, I think, by Ancient Aliens to be on their show. And a friend of mine had asked me, because they were interviewing him as well. And I actually got the part. I mean, I actually got it. And they called to tell me, you know, you've got the part, we want you on. And I didn't do it. I changed my mind because, you know, that there's some things about that subject that create a little anxiety sometimes. And I thought, you know, this is okay. I can talk about this in meetings and stuff like this, but I don't know if I want to talk about it on television. So I turned him down.
Yeah.
Graham went ahead and got on. He went ahead and went on. And I think he's been on several times actually, but I don't think he wants to be on anymore. He said it wasn't for him. He got so much negative publicity off of that when he was in smaller meetings in other places for some reason, because he'd been on Ancient Aliens, even though he was one of the people that Nick Pope hooked the electrodes up to while he was talking, and to tell if he was, you know, which part of the brain he was, and it was actually coming from memory.
Right.
The thought of being hooked up to anything just completely freaks me out. And I knew they were going to do all of that. It just freaks me out so bad.
Well, the other guy was able to control a drone with it, with that same cap. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, and that's what I'm saying. There's science behind all this stuff.
absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
And I'm less concerned about the commercial side of it as opposed to actually the reality of what it truly is.
Yeah, I was glad I didn't go on. He told me later, you know, he wished he had returned him down to. He said it wasn't the greatest experience of his life, but yeah.
Good decision.
Well, there's a lot of things I would commercialize on, but that's probably not one of them.
Yeah. See, I don't want to commercialize on anything. I just want to. I've wanted to teach it because it just feels to me like it's so important for everybody to have an experience, at least once in your lifetime, one experience in your lifetime, and you will lose your fear of death. You know, you'll be curious, you know, you may want it to happen way off in the future, but you're not gonna be afraid of it because you understand, you know, that you're never going to die, and you're not
Right.
so that's great.
Sometimes I can't wait to die.
There's a lot in the ancient readings too. One of the things that I'm about is just trying to explain what it says in the Bible, and you know, and this stuff was written so long ago, you know, and I'm finding it all to be true in certain ways. You know, it's all about the interpretation, and a lot of times that gets lost.
Yeah.
I think
Excuse
it's an
me, I was
ancient
wondering if anybody
ancient
has read a book called The Source Field Investigations. A friend of mine just gave me this book, and it's by David Wilcock.
Yeah,
And I think he's on that Ancient Aliens a lot of times.
he is sometimes. I've met him. He is sometimes on it. He has his own show. I think he has his own network now, maybe on YouTube. I'm not
Gaia.
sure.
Now that's the young British guy, right? Wilcox.
No, he's American.
He's American.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
thinking
American.
of the
Long
the
guy.
blonde hair guy.
He's the guy that people think is Edgar Casey's reincarnation.
Does
Uh,
he have
Oh,
does he have straight blonde hair? Younger guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
younger guy. Yeah.
His whole series is on Gaia, which is a
Yeah.
channel you all should get if you don't already have it.
I'm
I
following
haven't had it
Gaia.
for years.
Yeah, I get a lot of stuff off of there. That's where I've been watching Braid and stuff.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
he ties a lot more into the science of it.
Yeah.
but
Randy,
this is all science-based. He even has it, all the notes in the back, the studies and everything. And it's very interesting, the source field investigations. I'm starting to read it. It's a big book. And so what I usually do is in the morning, I just ask source to show me what I need to learn that day, and I'll just open it and see what I'm supposed to read. Because it's such a large book, I don't think I can do it cover to cover because I don't have the cognitive wherewithal to stay tuned. So
yeah.
that's how I read this book.
No, it's a big book. It's a big fat book.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to move on to have Paulina. Do you want to do an intro? Let's see. Okay,
Hi.
here
Hi, yeah, just a short one. I'm actually in my car right now. I will join until 7 o'clock.
okay.
So yeah, I don't have the new book, but I would like to keep in touch with you guys. I have this little experiences here and there. Lately, when I think about the friend, like this body, he actually see my astral body. Um, so, but consciously, I'm still in my body. So it's like my physical self do one thing. I can be walking in the snow. I was walking in the snow during the rain and the snow in Texas the other day. The other day, I walked in the snow for 3 hours, but I was thinking about a friend that we practiced together. Actually, my astral body went to the house and he saw me as like that. And I also several times I see astral body of that friend. So just happening likely, but I don't exit consciously. So that's about it for now.
Wow.
Happening lately.
Paulina,
Yeah,
good
it's
to
cool.
hear your voice.
Yeah, I have a dance class at 7, so I have to check out at 7. So excited. Dancing. Yeah.
Susan, you want to say something?
No, I was just
Oh.
thinking, the scientific approach to it myself, everything that I've read that's science based with astral projection tells me that they don't really have a handle on how this happens, why it happens to some people and why not just naturally to other people, but they do use it. They've got it. They know how. They have trained people to do it. So I know that they study this, and we probably won't get their data for a very long time, if ever. But they do know that it's real. They do know that it's very usable to gather data and different things like that. So there's a scientific branch that is definitely studying it, but it's something that I don't know if science is ever going to put its finger completely on, because this is dealing with your soul, with your spirit, with your the part of you that came here and occupied a body instead of the body itself. So we're dealing with spirit in a body, getting out of a body. So I think that they know how to teach people to do it, especially people who are inclined to learn. but I don't, they don't know the specifics of it yet. I think it's still very puzzling to them. I know some people, I've talked to a lot of people about this over the years, and they as scientists, and they understand, they understand this is real. It's a real thing. And some of them had actually had out of body experiences. It was wonderful for their work. But I just, I don't know if science is ever going to really explain it fully. I think it's more something that is experiential. And it's almost like trying to, press on a little blob of mercury, like when we were kids and we didn't know it was bad for us if a thermometer broke. It's very mercurial when you get in there and try to say, this is how it goes, this is the mechanism of it, and this is the scientific thing behind it. I've never been able to make those connections. It's just, to me, it's too much spirit. It's spirit. And once you're out of that body, it has nothing to do with the science that they're studying here. You're free and you know what you are. As soon as you get out and you feel yourself and you're okay with it, you know what it is. You recognize it. It's a natural state. It's a natural state. And people go out of body all the time at night because your body needs your psyche, your spirit or soul, whatever you call it, needs a break from the body once in a while because there's so much intensity around what's happening in our world, always. And so I've seen people at night. I've seen my husband lying in bed asleep. Oh my God. Sorry. He's 80 pounds and he's huge. Go away, Bodie. Go away. Bodie, go. And I'm sorry. Let him out. Let him out. Get him out of here.
I think the science behind it gives you confidence, doesn't it?
Huh?
Doesn't the science behind it give you confidence?
Yes, it gives me confidence. Well, it gives me
it's
confidence.
real.
It gives me hope
I mean,
that they're
yeah,
studying. I'm great. I'm really glad they are. And I really have talked to some of some really great people, some really great researchers and things. So I'm glad they're studying it. I'm always glad when they're studying anything paranormal, especially this. This is great. And I look forward to the day when science and spirituality meet, when they meet and really join hands, and the astral projectors and the mediums and the all of these people, remote viewers, all these people can sit and talk with the other side, the science side, and get in there and work together. And I know they do now. I know they do, but I still I come at it from a spiritual basis instead of a scientific basis.
I jump in real quick.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty sure there was a time, you can call it ancient, not too sure how far back, where this was a normal thing. And I believe most people could do it. And then at some point, it was hijacked and only a few were able or allowed or practiced it. And at another point, it became suppressed. I think there's a group that really doesn't want us to figure this out. I'm glad to see science starting to get into it, but I think there's another group that it scares the heck out of us learning or remembering how to do this. And that's, I always heard about this being a prison planet. And I think that's the prison. They keep us from knowing what we can truly do. And not being able to do this, not knowing anything about it, not understanding it is the prison. And but I'm glad that they're studying it. Unfortunately, I really believe there's a group that really doesn't want us to remember how to do this, but they're not going to be able to stop us. So
we perish due to a lack of understanding. Yeah, we perish due to a lack of understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Who that group is?
I'm gonna have Kat. Are you there?
Kathy?
Kathy,
Yes.
I'm here.
Kathy's the last one in the group here. You want to do an intro?
Oh. I'm Kathy Yarbrough. I'm Sue's friend, and I was invited to attend and to facilitate a meditation, a guided meditation to help people get out of their body. I'm not an adept by any means. I've had it happen a few times with intention, a few times spontaneously, a few times in my dreams. So I'm aware of it. And I tried to do it for a long time. And I've sort of given up. I'm working with dreams extensively, the theories of Carl Jung, and his journey is very much an inward journey. And I can see places where these things overlap, and I'm enjoying making those connections.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing the meditation yesterday. It was great.
Thank you. I
Thank you.
really enjoyed it.
Well, I put on the, if you guys look at this, if you have the chat open on your screens, you'll see some links there. Stephanie and Jason posted one to the 90-day guide, Mastering Astral Projection. And I posted one for chapter 2 on Robert Monroe's Journeys Out of the Body. And that'll link you to the other videos too, if you missed any of them. If you're bored one night, want to listen to them.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, today is Journeys Out of the Body, chapter 3 and 4. So I'd like to, for a little bit of time, get into that, and then we can go back to more discussions on random topics on astral projection, dreaming, lucid dreaming. I have a little survey here, a little poll I'm going to throw up on the screen to start it off. It's got 2 questions on it. And I'm going to launch that right now just to get our minds in that area here. Okay, you should see a poll. Take your time. There's no rush. Okay, I'm going to end the poll and show you guys the results. Have you ever verified an OBE with another physical human? 50%, 57% yes, 43% no, not sure 0. Interesting. Do you believe you can verify an OBE experience in the physical plane? 75% yes, 14% no, and 14% not sure. All right, and that leads us into chapters 3 and 4. Verification experiments. Robert Monroe starts getting into all that good stuff. Knock this down here. All right, would anybody like to start? We don't need any hands up because we got, let's see, 9 people, so I think we can keep it civil. Would anybody like to mention anything in chapters 3 and 4?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Go ahead, Peter.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I was, it's funny. I read this, I think it's been a little over 2 years ago for the first time. And I reading it now, it's like the first time again. So much of it I didn't remember. But on page 64, he talks about finding himself on the roof of a house and that this woman saw him. And I didn't remember that from before. And he mentioned that in a second thing as well, where it seemed like they saw him. What's happening there? What's your experience with that?
I experienced that where people
You have?
Yeah, I've experienced that where people have seen me. I verified once or twice with Kathy, with another lady here in town, with 2 other ladies here in town, with my husband, with another friend. So I always tell them if I try to go and pull them out, or if I just go and whatever I do, I'll just check something in their house. Just look at something in their house that's out of place or something that's odd that I hadn't noticed the last time I was there, and I'll ask them about it so I can verify, that I was there. I've only pinched one person, and I did leave a bruise on her. I did, but she wanted me to. She had asked me to try, And another time I went back to her another time out of body when she said, please, please just come try to get my attention, wave at me or anything, just try to get my attention. And so I did go one day.
Susan, I get to ask you real quick. When you leave a pinch on somebody, Robert Monroe talks about that in these chapters about pinching somebody and leaving a mark on them.
Yeah.
Do you actually feel the person when you do it, or does your fingers
I
go
do.
through them?
No, I do feel them.
Okay.
There's times when you can go up and touch, but it depends. It kind of depends on how heavy your astral body is. The heavier you, the more energy you pull into it, the more solid you are. And you can do more in this physical realm. You can actually move little things. You can touch people. You mess up their hair, or you can try to pinch them or something like that. You know, it's minimal, but you can interact with the surroundings around you. And you can, no, I could feel her, but I wasn't sure that she could feel me. Wasn't sure. So she told me about that. She showed me the bruise, and I was doing reflexology at the time. I used to do reflexology on her, and she asked me to come back again and try to just wave at her, get her attention or anything. So I did go back. A few weeks later, I was getting out of body, and I thought, oh, well, Frances asked me to come, so I'm going to go. So she owned this 3-story, beautiful old historic hotel here in town. And so I went over it, flew over it, went down through all 3 stories to the bottom floor into the great room. As you walked into it, it wasn't the parlor, it was a great room. And there was a beam, there's like a column in the floor and this little seating area and stuff. And I went and stood by the column, and I was thinking, where is she? You know, I was looking around to see where she was. I didn't see her anywhere, but I knew she was in there. I could feel her. So I just stood there and I waited, and she came out of this back area where her living quarters were. And she came out with a bag of laundry, a basket of laundry, and she had on green pants and a green shirt. I remember that. And she walked into there. She had to walk through that area where I was to get to the back of the hotel to the laundry area. And as she got close to me, she got about 2 feet in front of me, and she stopped. And she smiled, and she just, she wasn't sure where to look, but she said, Sue, is that you? And I was going, I started waving her. I said, it's me. It really is me. I'm here. And she just, she just laughed. And then she walked on in there and did her laundry, took her laundry back there. So I didn't say anything to her. I wanted her to say something to me. So a couple of weeks later, I was over there to do reflexology. And she asked me, she said, did you come? Did you come here? Just a couple of weeks ago, did you come? Because she said, I swear to God, I felt you there. And I said, I did. What did you feel? And did you see anything? She said, no, I didn't see anything. But she said, and I said, I'll tell you where I was standing. I'll show you where I was standing. I went there and I stood in my spot. She said, that's right where I came. I stood right in front of you. Did you know that? And I said, well, yeah, I saw you. And she said, I felt you. And I said, I asked you, I said, Sue, is that you? And she said, then I thought, well, that's silly. So I went on. And I said, you were wearing a pair of green, looked like green sweatpants and a green top. She said, that was my velour, her jogging suit, right? That she just always wore. It was a velour green jogging suit. And she said, that is what I had on. I did have that on. I remember all of that. So yeah, it was verification. It was fun. It was fun to be able to, it's always fun to get verification. If you can. It's not often that you can, but you can.
So for verification, could I ask a question?
Yes.
So for verification, does it need to be something that specific? Because a lot of times you don't understand that things are getting verified. And so like one of the things I do is I focus on ideas, right? Perfect situation, an ideal. And that keeps me focused in the right direction. And I'll see things and I'll know, and I'll like receive the next step once I understand it. Okay. And it's like it's perpetuating in all different directions. Okay. And so what I try to do is harness that and then focus it towards where I'm trying to get. Okay. And then things will start, I will see them and then they will happen. And they just start happening and there's no direct verification to it, but it's kind of an implicit verification. Do you have any, thoughts on that for verification?
Well, I don't know about anybody else, but for me, it's verification enough for me if I can go into a building, a home, something, and just take inventory of what they have in weird places that you wouldn't see from walking in or walking around. And I have called people before and said, hey, do you have such and such up on your bookcase, or do you have such and such up on the high shelf in your kitchen? It's just this weird little thing. It's this thing. It looks like it's this color or it's this shape. Even if they don't, they'll go and look and find it. But even if nobody's there and I don't have anybody to verify it, to me, that's verification, to be able to look around a place and see things that you couldn't see from walking through it. You can't see things that are up very high. So I would do that. I would always do that. And to me, that's verification. I just, you can verify for yourself, but if you want outside, like if you want another person to verify for you, you kind of have to do something. You have to see something that they know you could not possibly have seen without being out of body, or that you couldn't know, something that they were doing. But they don't necessarily have to know that you're there at the time. I always get their permission first. I never go to anybody's house without their permission. There's hardcore, there's the verification where you have somebody saying, yes, I knew you were there. I could feel you. You left a bruise in my stomach. Something has moved in my house and I don't know where it is, or, something like that. That's fun. That's great when I can get that. But that was years ago that I did that. I don't even do that anymore. It was just fun, and I wanted my friends to understand what was happening, and I wanted them all to get out of body. I wanted everybody out of body. So
they don't always want to do it, though.
They don't always want to. They don't.
Yeah, they don't.
I'm gonna share a screen here real quick. This is from the book here, and you can see Robert Monroe. He classifies this as locale 1, is the physical environment that we're in now. And so he classifies this as a here now locale 1. And then with his experiments and stuff, you can read a little bit here. So you can visit the locale 1. So when we're doing verification tests and experiments, you're basically in locale 1, the second body, as he says here, and it should not contain strange beings, events, or places unfamiliar, perhaps, but not strange and unknown. Otherwise, you're in another locale, which he gets in later chapters.
Exactly. That's true. That's true.
Let me come back here now. Get off this.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. If you're in this reality right here, I have, like I said, my son is an astral projector too. And I used to tell him I would know if I was here and now, because everything's the same. It's all the same. It's normal. It's physical. It's the physical 3D reality that we normally exist in. But then there's been times when I've projected out and just hung around here for some reason, just for some, I guess it was during the days when I was really learning to get a handle on it. And there was a lot of times there was somebody that would help me after I got out and say, you need to try this, and I would go. And so I called, I realized that Robert Monroe was talking about location. What was it? Reality 1 or something, locale 1, locale 2.
Yeah.
I had always called it Seadrift 1 and Seadrift 2. That's the little town I live in. And Seadrift 2 was a much more strange and it was a way more perfected version of what I live in now, what this place here is. But it was much more productive. This is a very sleepy little town, but there were businesses that don't exist here. I would stop and talk to the people who own the businesses and get their names. you know, we would exchange names and all this stuff. And I would realize that this is Cedar 1, this is Cedar 2. And my son experienced the same thing. So, and he called it the same thing. He called it Cedar 1, Cedar 2. So that's, yeah, that's, and there's like an Earth 1, an Earth 2. Earth 2 is, to me, what I've seen was there's some high strangeness attached to it. But it still seems, it's very organic. It's very, when I see Earth 2, or what I call Earth 2, it's like I've just slightly switched dimensionally or vibrationally. I've just switched up a little bit, and everything is in a more perfected state. It's more organized. It's green. It's not polluted. There's a lot of difference in this. So I understood when Robert Monroe talked about that in the books, I understood perfectly well what he was talking about. And he had some pretty fantastic experiences in other locales.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Since I'm so new here, I just need to know something. I'm sort of looking for something to maybe turn around some negative belief systems, or get in touch with my, shadow side, so that I can emerge with it and sort of become a better soul light. And I was wondering how, is it OBE, out of body? Yeah, OBE. How does that help?
Anybody else want to say anything?
I can speak a little bit to that. Because I've had like some dark experiences as well, with demons, okay, and that kind of stuff. And a lot of it is, for me, is understanding. It all comes down to understanding what's at the root of that, okay, and then putting it in a positive direction, okay. And once you take the root and push it in a positive direction, you will start to see that you can use this to help you get closer to yourself.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Can I jump in on that?
Yeah.
From what I know, and it's normal to be fearful with this stuff, so don't feel bad about that, but it depends on your mental state, your vibe. I would suggest that even before you try to do this, that you raise your way of thinking to something more positive, because when you're out there, you can unconsciously manifest based on your current vibe, your current level of thinking. So, usually whatever you see, it corresponds to what vibe level you're at. So
Yeah.
I would say, surround yourself. Like I like to surround myself with, a golden white bubble, and then I surround that with a nice violet tetrahedron protection grid. That's what I do. And I try to think positively and vibe positively before I even do anything like that. And I've never had any negative experiences, but I've heard of people who have, and in my studies, that's pretty much what they say. In the astral plane, you can literally manifest anything. So, and you might not even know what you're manifesting. So you definitely want to change your state of mind as much as possible before you go, if possible.
I will never go.
I'll add to that. It's that positive aspect, and when you know that you just have to follow the feeling, and when you know that it's good, right, and you know that it's perfect, right, then whatever comes back from it is gonna get you closer. right? And you just gotta, that's the vibe, right? And I live in that vibe, and it keeps getting me closer.
So
And
when
then
you're,
all the,
I was just going to ask one question. So since we live most of our conscious existence in the subconscious mind, and
Mhm.
we don't know what the subconscious mind is actually trying to, I guess, tell us or something, and we're how how do I place this? So if we don't know, 90% of us of my existence is in my subconscious, and I really don't know what the wounds are in that subconscious mind. And then I try to astral project without knowing that. Wouldn't those
Well,
wounds come up and sort of meet me there as I'm out of my body? Wouldn't I meet my subconscious mind saying, hey,
not necessarily.
you can release
And
those.
you can, when you get out there, you have control of your thoughts then. So when you're out there, just keep your thoughts positive and just realize that no matter what you see or come up against, it can't hurt you. It can't destroy you. You're just going to have to get over that fear. And just when you're out there, just don't think about the things that could get you in trouble. And that's a rare occasion anyway, no matter how we think. Personally, I have a hard time staying in this area. Only recently am I trying to experiment, trying to stay here. Normally when I get out, I'm gone. I just go places. I can't even remember to go up to someone's room and look around at stuff. I'd rather go to a whole new universe, another planet, see things. So, just even when you're out there, just keep your thoughts. Don't think about anything. Just do stuff. I want to fly, then fly. I want to go through, under the ocean, go under the ocean. I want to fly to the moon, then just do that. Don't really worry about, try not to think about your fears if possible.
And another thing, you're much, much kinder to yourself when you're out of body, because when you're out of body, you're more who you are than when you're in your body, in my opinion. So you're much kinder to yourself. So whatever your issues have been, whatever your problems have been in your life, and whatever, you see them from a completely unfamiliar stance. And you're much, much kinder, and you understand that all of these things were necessary. All of this was necessary. All of that was necessary so that this could be. It was all necessary. And it was learning experiences for the human experience. But you're much kinder to yourself once you get out of body.
so when you come back in the body, do you learn from that perspective and you keep the perspective from a higher level, and that's how you advance your soul existence here on Earth?
No, you come back when you
You're
merge.
not existing on Earth.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm in my body.
But when you
Well,
come
it's
back
time.
into your body,
Sorry.
oh, that's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
When you come back into your body, you merge. You still, you morph back into your body. You meld into it, and so you have all your memories are intact. Everything. You're still just like you were before you left it, but you're like you were with new understanding, a new experience of who you really are. And so you're much kinder to yourself, and it makes me happy. I will never go out of body when I'm in a bad mood. I can't, it's not going to work for me. I have to be peaceful, and I have to be, just nothing pressing or anything like that. But I found that out, is that you are so much kinder and so much more forgiving, and not even forgiving. You may understand why a lot of things happen the way they did. And, you cannot change them. All you can do is find peace with it. You find peace with things, and you understand that everything was necessary, right? Shakespeare said, there's no such thing as good or bad. All things are necessary. There's some truth to that.
I agree.
Yeah.
I
I
want
wanted
to
to
add.
ask for a question, if I may. Are you trying to become conscious of your own personal shadow in order to heal, and you want to try to use an out-of-body experience to facilitate that? Is that what I'm hearing you ask?
Yes, that's very close. I just, not that I'm trying to use it, it's just that I'm wondering if that's a modality that I can use.
It is.
I had a near-death experience, and I actually, coming back, had post-traumatic stress syndrome because I wanted to stay there. There was just no way I wanted to stay here. And I've had a hard time integrating and being, coming back. So I'm just trying to figure out a modality that I can use to possibly exist in my body, and not such a post-traumatic stress syndrome state, because I saw what's on the other side. I want to be there.
Well,
It's
if you
just,
learn how to, if you learn
You
how
got to
astral
release your
project-
mind, right? You got to release your mind to it, and you gotta release your mind to it, and you gotta and keep following it, right?
Just surrender to it. Yeah. Because good
Well,
things follow.
I would add that I would not recommend using an out of body to do therapy work or to directly confront your shadow. I think that belongs with like shamanic journeying, or if you're in a lucid dream, that's a wonderful thing to do.
that's what I was wondering about, the lucid dreaming.
Right, that's the best place really, because you're tapped into your subconscious. It's all very symbolic, it's very relative to you, and it kind of feels cozy and supervised. Whereas if you're out of body, you're already a little, you're away from your comfort zone, you're away from your house. And if you're looking to maybe like, show me my hidden memories, well, then you're going to get a full volumetric 3D replay or something, and you probably don't really want that. There's probably a reason you're not ready for that at that
Right.
time.
Right.
And you couldn't do that anyway in a normal state, right? So you can traumatize yourself by confronting something you're not ready to see consciously out of body, because it's so in the moment, it's so real, it's so authentic. So it's so much easier to see that kind of stuff in phases and over time through things like, shamanic journey work or talk therapy, the usual therapy methods. And of course, lucid dreaming would be ideal because it's already somehow like tuned to, like it's the lucid dream is built to confront things you aren't ready to confront anyway, like through sideways methods, right? Through the symbology and everything. So I would stick with that and not try to confront things while out. And I agree with what everyone else says. While you're out, you're not exactly the same person. You're just like unfiltered. You're in the now. You're your conscious self. You're not so burdened by the subconscious. You don't have all these subroutines of thought and wondering and distraction, and like you're not as cloudy. And so it is easier to stay happy. It's easier to stay focused. You're very distractible. It's actually hard not to be distractible by your environment. You're kind of ADD. And so I would not worry about accidentally triggering yourself or being triggered while out of body. But I would not go intentionally looking to be, if that makes sense.
I
Yeah,
Go
would
out
thank
of body.
you.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
it's
either.
one of
Go out of body to be out of body. In my personal opinion, I don't really want to worry about what's going on here and what I'm going through here. I'm out of body in a way to get away from that, to experience things that you can't possibly experience here. So I like to have fun with it.
I do too.
Have fun.
Yeah, I do the same thing. You don't have to work on any of that stuff out of body. You don't even have to try. I've never tried to do any of that out of body. But like I said, when I come back, I feel better equipped to deal with everything, because you've had an experience of more what you accurately are, more what you are. If you didn't have a body, here you are, you're conscious, you're more conscious. So you're better able, I find myself better able to deal with everything because it makes me very happy to get out of body. I've had some weird, sort of scary experiences out of body, but rarely. It's been wonderful. But I come back feeling energized and balanced, more balanced. And I've gone out of body when I was sick before. It feels great to get out of a body that's racked with flu or mono. Mono was the worst one. So I always come back feeling more, knowing more how I should look at these things, or not even look at them at all, you know, because we are spirit, you know, we're in this world. I mean, goodness, look at this world, you know, and it's hard enough to just go buy your groceries, go to work, go whatever. There's a lot going on in this world, you know, has been for a long time. And just to get away from it and then come back, I think for me, for myself, it may not be for everybody, but I handle everything better after I get in body, and I'm happy because I've been out of body, and it's wonderful. And I see the body in a completely different way. You know, it's a companion to me. It's not me, but it is a companion. And I thank it ever so often for taking care of me. You know, I'll pat my legs or whatever and just, you know, thank you. You've done a good job. You've got me this far. You know, thank you for taking care of me. But I will get out of you anytime I can.
When you're floating a couple thousand feet over the earth looking down, you tend not to really think about those things. You're too busy going, whoa, this is crazy. You know, what can I do next? That's the kind of attitude I would suggest.
It's an adventure. It's just an adventure. Every time you go, it's an adventure.
So
really, I was going to say real quick, you're talking about the conscious and subconscious here, and back to the book here, I'm going to put something on the screen. He talks about when he tries to travel somewhere, when he's out of his body in locale 1, that your subconscious mind may be in conflict with your conscious mind may be in conflict with your subconscious as to what should be the destination. And you could begin to appreciate why so many experiments to produce locale 1 evidential data have ended in failure. So he's talking about how your subconscious mind comes in and distracts you from your conscious mind, even when you're out of body.
Yeah, I will.
But to get there, you got to bring them in sync, right? You got to bring them into sync.
No.
Right? Because the subconscious is what is connecting me to the spiritual realm, the external dimensions, right? And it's through the subconscious that I'm able to extend into the Akashic record. Okay. So
you can consciously go to the Akashic records.
Well, in the way that I access it is I don't necessarily know what it's giving me. Okay, but I'm just getting it. And I'm getting it because I'm tapped into it. Okay. So, and it just shows me the next step. And I do that, and I just do the next thing. And then these things start to happen. Okay, it's kind of like, you know, I'm kind of a visionary, right? I see things happening, okay, and I control to a certain extent, you know, what can happen in these situations. And then I can see beyond and see what's going to happen, okay, if I do this, or what's going to happen if I do that. And so then I've got to, you know, now I've got to.
That's the difference, I think.
And I'm trying to connect. I'm trying to connect to these things, right? It's all related to one existence, right? That I'm trying. I don't know. I'm trying to prove that it exists. I mean, it's just I want to be, you know as much about it.
You could go to a journey or to the Akashic records, and you can very consciously say, I specifically want this. I want data on this. Or you could say, I want what my highest good is. Please reveal whatever my highest good is. And you consciously don't know. And then your subconscious will do all the operation to get you that answer.
It doesn't give it to me immediately, right? But I patch it and I make the request, right? And sometimes, you know, and and then I got to go through a process to get it, right? But it's always there, you know. And you know,
can get
ask
it pretty
and you shall be given,
instantaneously.
right? It says it in the Bible. Ask and you
your
shall be given.
subconscious, is inventing the time delay. You can actually get that data immediately with no time delay if you like.
Was
What do you
right.
think?
I need
You
to,
don't
and
need
so
the
I need to get in the right direction to pull. I'm trying to pull all this together, right?
What do you think about this? In my experience, I have two different kinds of travels. One where I'm out there and I don't really realize it. And I kind of look at that as an unconscious or subconscious travel. Or the other one is when I'm out there and I realize it and then I control it. Like, oh, I'm here. I'm doing this. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna do that, and you know it. You know that's kind of been my experience.
I want to bring it back to the book real quick. So the book was talking about kind of expectations, and it was in the context of verifying evidence, right? And
Yeah.
so I think what he means is the same thing remote viewers get into when they're trying to find, yeah, thank you. So when you're looking for proof of something, you're pulling through your intuition, you're gonna have, your creative brain will guess at it. You'll get a little hint of data and then your subconscious will guess and go, oh, that's obviously, Eiffel Tower. And then now it is the Eiffel Tower because you just overlaid that onto it. You've either moved to the actual Eiffel Tower or you've invented a new Eiffel Tower, whatever. Yeah, and so you want to, when you're looking for proof, you want to be careful to watch out for what they would call analytical overlay. In remote viewing, you try your best to get rid of that stuff. You give it its little moment and you put it on the side. So every time you have a little daydream or thought of I think I know what it is, you dismiss it, you write it down just for what it's worth. So your subconscious is going to feel acknowledged, and then you go right back to raw data. And so I think that's what we're talking about here, is just the tendency that you can have that interrupt your journey, or you can even be really in someone else's house and you think you recognize the object that's kind of in the shadows, but you just made up something else and put it there energetically. And you're going to come back thinking you have proof when we almost did, but you just added to it.
That's why I asked my brother, he's in Chicago, and I said, I want you to put something in your room that I don't know what it is, and I'm going to come tell you what it is. Put it on your table next to you, but just some type of object that there's no way I could know what it is. And then I'll tell you what it is. That way, like what Stephanie just said, you won't create something. It's something that's already there, and you can verify it with that person.
That's what I've done too. I've asked people to put things in places so I could come and see. And sometimes I won't know exactly what it is. Sometimes depends on how my vision is working at the time out of body, but I will at least get the color and the shape right. I'll always get the color and the shape right. And I've always been able to verify if I've gone in my place. I've always been able to verify it with them, what I saw, that they did put it there, and or people that had put things. I've looked for things that people lost, and especially my mom. My mom was one of those that would just, she was walking past a shelf and she didn't have any place to, she's tired of walking through the house or something. She'd just stick it up on a shelf, and then she couldn't find it later. So yeah, I was able to go and say, hey, I think what you're looking for is on top of this or whatever. So I've been able to do that. And the Akashic records, whoever was talking about the Akashic records, I think we all have an experience of them that's a little different from everybody else's. They're all probably valid. But my way, because a lot of times when I go out of body, I go into higher dimensional reality because I like it there.
Right.
That's where I want to be. That's where I want to be. So I will go there. But I went very, very high consciousness one time, and it's hard to stay there for very long. But I asked, because someone came and met me, and it was outside of just this absolutely beautiful palatial looking thing, but it looked like it was made of crystal. It was just so beautiful. It was just a stunning, huge building. And I went inside, and I found somebody who was in there that seemed to be working there, and I said, "May I see the Akashic records?" I just did. I just thought, well, I didn't want her to ask, because I'd always done it differently too. I'd always gone into meditation and tried and read from that. But I said, "May I see them?" And this seemed like the biggest library I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen anything like this. This is huge, absolutely monstrous, huge place with books everywhere. And whoever told me, whoever I was with said, yes, you may see one person's record. What did you want to see? And I was like, I hadn't planned this, so I said, my mom. And so there's this, like, these books are huge too. They're huge, but they showed it to me in book form and went straight to my mother's page. And I read the first page. I didn't read all of it. I didn't have time to read all of it, but I read the first page, and it listed every swear word she's ever used ever in her life. And I laughed and laughed and laughed. It was just, and I thought, oh, I'm going to get her when I get back. Because it was so funny. And these things that
That's
she'd
the
done.
Lamb's Book of Life, right?
Huh?
That's the Lamb's Book of Life.
I guess so. I guess that, yeah, it's
Yeah.
another name for it. But I
Same
did go
thing.
back and tell her that I'd seen it, and I started going down the list of swear words, which mine are longer, but I was going down the list of words that she used, and we had a good laugh about it because, yeah, I read it, but I was so surprised and so it was so humorous to me that even something like that, something that simple, is there. It's etched. It's like the cloud of spirit, instead of the iCloud, like the cloud on a computer. The Akashic records are like the cloud for all experience everywhere. And so that was funny. And I don't know why I asked to see my mother's instead of my own. I asked to see hers, but it made me laugh. It did. It made us both laugh.
Stephanie,
So,
can you have a good voice and good audio. Can you read this real quick? Could you read this chapter here, this paragraph where it says still?
still another difficulty of locale 1 travel lies in the time factor. Inconveniently, the best periods for deep relaxation so necessary to create the second state occur late at night. Therefore, it is quite natural to take advantage of such instances when possible. Less effort is required and the separation is much more rapid. However, the physiological and psychological conditions that help induce this state are unpredictable and not known fully. This inconsistency brought numerous occasions when experimentation for purely evidential data ended in failure. I see why Jace would like this. The person to be visited was performing no reportable act other than lying in bed, sound asleep. These were discounted completely as evidence. Most people perform this act every night.
And just one more half of this paragraph here.
Similarly, attempts at validation during daylight hours brought their share of complications. With no promise of contact at a specific minute or hour, most people involved went about their normal affairs. Thus, when such visits were made, they were not necessarily discovered in a unique or unusual act or condition. As a result, the small, normally inconsequential acts observed during these visits often were but vague memories to the contactee when confirmation was needed. So I would guess an example would be, of course, at night, you go visit your mom and, oh, there she is sleeping. Great. Usually wears the same nightgown. Nothing to verify. And then if you go see someone in the day, maybe they're at work, but you've been to their workplace, and so you could have, visualized it all yourself subconsciously. You could, and they weren't doing anything notable. And even if they were, you'd have to call them right away for them to go, oh yes, I was picking my nose 5 minutes ago, specifically. Otherwise they will forget and they can't verify it for you.
Thanks, Steph. Anybody have any comments on that you'd like to share?
I do. Someone who doesn't know anything about out of body. Maybe I have had out of body. So I took a course one time about we were given an envelope that was sealed, and there was a place inside this envelope. And we were supposed to just sit there and sort of get images and draw what we thought was in this envelope, or what impressions we were getting. And I drew a playground with a sort of a gateway, and it was sort of like something like I don't know, so land of land. I put land. And when I opened my envelope, the place that was written on was Disneyland. So my instructors indicated or said to me, "What did you see?" And I saw Ferris wheels and stuff like that. And so I guess that would be out of body, wouldn't it? Or is that just imagination?
Neither.
Oh,
That would
Is
be
that
remote viewing.
Remote
That
remote viewing,
or
right?
clear visual, a clairvoyance. Yeah, so it's also black and white, right? You're completely out of body, or you're definitely not everything, but that's imagination. I know some of us used to think that way in the group here. Not to name names, but but yeah, it turns out like there's a big phase, right? So we are technically not even really in our body. We're these non-local viewers hanging out near a body all the time. And we can get data from all dimensions at any time right now while in the form, right? So we can simply intend to send either, I don't know how you want to visualize it. So you could think of it like you send a portion of you, of your energy out like a little mini camera out into the envelope, or back into time when the guy that was making the envelopes was stuffing the envelopes, or reading the mind of the guy who stuffed an envelope. You could like, it's kind of unlimited in that sense. Yeah, you're talking about all the potentials of our spirit, really. So an out of body is just to keep it in a box. It's the experience of having most or all, maybe not all like in Paulina's example, but most or all of you in a full humanoid-ish form, maybe sometimes ball of light, but all of your awareness is completely out of body. You're not worried about your body. You're not halfway in. You're not feeling pressure of your bed or anything. You can, and, you're immersed in that surrounding. Whereas, say, like with remote viewing, you're in your body at a desk with your pen in your hand. Your eyes are not closed. You're looking at the piece of paper, but you're kind of just drifting in this kind of trance state and just writing down data as it comes, and that works. And it's not like you have to be there in order to truly see it. You can certainly receive it in all kinds of levels and degrees and ways.
Can I ask a quick question about the verification process?
Yeah, Ronnie, 1 second here real quick. I'm just
Sure.
gonna say it's 8:30. I always like to let everybody know they can drop out anytime they want. We're gonna let this run a little longer. And feel free, you don't have to say goodbye. You can just take off if you need to, or you can say goodbye, whatever. But just let everybody know it's 8:30. Yeah, go ahead, Ronnie.
I was just curious, is the purpose of verification to convince ourselves that we're doing this, or to convince others that we're doing this, or both, or I'm just kind of wondering what the whole verification part is, because personally when I'm doing it, I know I'm doing it. I really don't need any verification.
I
So
like
I
your, I want to tie it
what
in
is
with what I want to tie that answer in with what Eric was asking about. So he was saying, I think like situations where you're using your intuition, you're getting data from somewhere and maybe getting some guidance, and it's not specific. It's not, hey, look on page 99, I have your destination map right there. Like it's vague. And so you get a hint or a nudge, right. So how do you get verification from those nudges and synchronicities? Well, it's hard. I mean, you have to have like 1,000 of them back to back to back to go, well, the mathematical odds of it not being a coincidence would be 1 in 5 here times the 1 in 7 here times da 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 da, and go down the trail until you get, you know, when the lotto level odds of it being a coincidence anymore. And then you could believe, but some people still won't believe, and they really, really need that sense of confidence and sureness that comes from one of the more standard validation, direct observation experiences like what's been talked about tonight. And it's not like you always need it. Once you've had 1 or 2, then you're good. Like in my experience, I had to have a really thorough proof first, but once I no longer really cared to. It wasn't my thing anymore. And then I could trust those synchronicities, and I could go a lot deeper and further with those nudges and hints from the universe than I ever could before, because I didn't have that doubt anymore. So that
Very
was
well
the
said.
significance.
I'm gonna say here real quick, Brian's got his hand up here. I'm gonna let Brian talk real quick. Or we'll take your time, Brian, not quick. Go ahead.
I have a question about the dream state. Now, there was a few times when I was dreaming and I just spontaneously became aware. And, you know, from there, I was able to do like an out-of-body experience. But I've only done this a few times, and I've tried to like recreate it, and I haven't had any success. Does anyone have any tips or anything on how I can maybe do that more often?
You remember the state you were in when you did it?
So when it happened, I was like asleep. I was dreaming, just
Lucid dream
completely out. And then, yeah, within the dream, I actually became aware that I was dreaming, and then just went on my way. And but I've only done it a few times, and I've been trying to like recreate that experience, and I haven't had any success.
Does anybody agree that there's like multiple ways of doing this?
Yeah, that's similar to my case. Yeah, and I mean, are we? What are the? Is this the best medium, right? I mean, I know it's there, and I know I exist in it, and I live in it, and I see everything, but I want that projection to bring my physical self, meaning my out of body, into that reality.
I want to say that this is where your own unconscious can come into play, because right before you go to sleep, you can do something that's called dream incubating. You can make a suggestion that your unconscious prompts you in the dream state, and you can repeat that over and over, and it reinforces the intention. It's called dream incubating in dream work, but you can use it to facilitate the out of body.
I think I'll try that.
And do you use the tape? I use the tapes every night. I don't know if I'm going down the right path, but I listen to the tapes when I go to sleep, and then I listen to the binaural beats music during the day, and I put it on, you know, the ADHD focus, right? And I eat lots of berries, and that gives you brain power.
Okay.
Does anybody have a comment on if these are all things that are going to help me to get there, right?
Yeah, I would say just know that there's many different ways to do this. You can wake up in a dream. You can wake up and just sit up. You can just roll out. There's like, I don't know, there might be an unlimited way, but there's at least 10 different ways that I know that this stuff can happen. And I think the more you do it, like one day I woke up in another version of myself. I wasn't expecting that. And it just I wasn't even thinking about doing that. And it happened like 2 or 3 times, and that was a new way. You know, I've woken up in dreams like Brian was talking about. I've just literally sat up and thought I was actually sitting up, and it wasn't my body, it was my astral body.
Does it just
there's
hit
just-
you like a, does it hit you like a ton of bricks, or does it just gradually, you come to a realization? Right?
Well,
I mean, when you know,
I
when
just-
you
I
know,
just
with
re-
verification for yourself, you know, right, that you're there.
Yeah, I just kind
Yeah.
of realized that that's what I'm doing. And one of the, I think the most important thing when it comes to this is intention. And if you really intend on doing this and you really want to do it, then just your intention has to be high. And
Yeah.
there's no, it could happen any way.
Yeah, don't limit
Right.
don't limit by what you read, because
Yeah.
you may come up with your body or your consciousness may come up with a completely different way that no one's ever thought about.
Right.
Right. Let's just go with it. That, find what it is. You can feel it, right? You know it's there. Feel it.
Right.
And just go.
Just intend
Just
to
go
leave
with
your
it.
body. Just
Yeah,
intend
just keep
that
going
you
with
want
it.
to have
Keep going with it.
yeah,
So there,
I want to leave my body. That's it. And
Yeah.
it could happen any amount of ways.
now there's some pros and cons to the lucid dream exit. So you're talking about being lucky enough to become lucid and then exiting. So what's great about that is you skip all the vibrations. You
Right.
skip
There was
the
there was
transition.
no vibrations or anything.
Right.
Like I just became aware, that I was dreaming and went on my way.
Yeah, you're 90% out. You're just kind of like in a localized sphere of energy near your body. And so just one more step up and then you're there. So it's really easy, except the downside is you have to be lucid first, right? Like how
Right.
common is that? Does it happen every night? Well, then cool, stick with that. But if it's not every night, then I think you're asking, how can I become lucid more often? Which
Yeah.
is this big elaborate training process versus how do I expand and do that anyway. So what's cool about any of these techniques is all of them will accidentally encourage lucid dreaming. So you could do both, and you could try the waking exit, and by doing so, you'll build up energy, you'll have affirmations that work on your subconscious, and you'll be much more likely to have an accidental, spontaneous out of body at night. So
I got
win-win.
a comment question. Okay, now I can't remember. Sorry.
I can say there's 3 things that work for me that you can try besides the intention part, which once again that's the most important to me, is be still. Like when you're laying down or whatever you're doing, just be still and don't move. Just like is it Susan, like you were saying, you would lay there for hours and it would happen if you just be still and just don't move your body. Don't try to get comfortable every 5 minutes or anything like that. Just be still. And if you can be in like a humid, semi-uncomfortable environment where it's kind of hard to get to sleep because you're semi-uncomfortable, that is a really good way. And then if you get the right hemisync tape or YouTube or whatever, Tom Campbell has some good ones. And if you get the right frequency, those work really good too.
Yep.
Okay.
So
State an intent when you go to bed. Every time you lie down to try this, or when you go to sleep at night, even just program your sleep, your what happens to your sleep. But I always say, tonight while my body sleeps, I will become lucid. And in that lucidity, I will use that as a springboard to go out of body. And I usually have a destination in mind. But you can also just say, tonight while my body sleeps, I will go out of body. And you just give yourself that. And if you do that enough, there's something in you that's listening that hears that, and it understands what your intention is, and it will help you after a while. It'll help you.
Yeah, the trust.
isn't this stuff like it hasn't this stuff has been happening all our life, right? And I think because we exist in this other realm, right? Dimension. And when you become cognizant of it and start focusing on it, okay, and especially when you start verbalizing it and talking about it, then that makes things become real. Okay. And you're getting closer and closer to it, to understand, you know, to being conscious of it. And then you become more, the more you're focused on it. And then as long as you release and let it do its job, right, then the tapes are getting me there, right?
And the more you focus on it, it lets your higher self know that this is what you want to do.
Yeah.
Right. So you're not really, you got to get it out of the left brain, which is looking at the physical part of, I need to focus on it and I need to focus on it, versus your right brain and just your subconscious and releasing it, okay, and allowing it to take focus.
Perfect.
Okay. And then, yeah, that hemisync tapes are really working well.
Okay.
And I think that's
I'm
the
gonna try
version.
those tapes.
It's version 1, and I've listened to the first 6 already, and that's where I started seeing kind of like, if you take my background picture, but take out all the stars, and it's just that, it's that glow, and it's blue, right? And I know I'm getting closer and getting closer, because each time it gets, you know, better, or, you know, sometimes I have bad days.
And Brian, remember too, when I first had my first major experiences, after 20 years, after listening to everybody talk about stuff like this, I was so surprised how all this stuff stuck with me when I was out of body. It was like a backpack on me with everything everybody was telling me. It's like, wow, I remember to do this and do that and check my hands and, you know, feel stuff and think stuff, look for my body, do this and do that, stay calm, don't get overexcited, relax, go with it. And all this stuff just, it hopefully would happen with you too, comes to you.
Yeah.
You become hyper lucid out of body. It's not just plain lucidity. It's this 360-degree vision. You hear everything. Depends on which senses you want to engage, you know, but the visual thing. And when you go out of body, when you get out, I don't know if this happens for everybody, but if you, every time, when the beginning, when I first started going out when I was really young, I would go out and it would just be dark. And I would think, why can't I see? And I need to open my eyes. Well, when I open my eyes, I'm back in body, because I said eyes. So I learned, I had 2 phrases that I used then in my head, out of body, when I was in my thinking mind or whatever. I would say, let there be sight, vision comes on. Or vision now. That was the other one that I used. And I wouldn't say anything about my eyes. As soon as, if I mentioned my eyes, I would open my eyes in my body and come back. But if you just had come up with your own phrase, mine was let there be sight. You can see 360 degrees the whole time. I mean, you're seeing 360 degrees. It's amazing. But if you frame it in a way that it sounds like you're referring to a physical body part, well, it makes you think of your body, and that tends to bring you back. So I
Immediately.
Things like that to help start the vision without bringing me back to my body, and that worked for me.
Okay, I'll try that.
Yeah.
The vision now.
Yeah.
So I got a question. Since this is a total newbie to the group question. All right. Is this because I did the 12 steps and I put everything, you know, and I released to it, and I've been sober from some heavy stuff for years. And I came to when I got, before, a little after I started getting into this or focusing on it, I came to the realization, right, that yeah, I'm there. You know, it hit me like a ton of bricks. You know, is that consistent with kind of what this group is a goal, you know, or what y'all are all moving towards? Or
It's all different levels. I think all different experience levels, and to me, it seems like different goals.
So does the group have a history, okay, of I'm not trying to be critical. I'm just trying to better understand how I can get there, right? And I know I value everybody's input. And does the group have a history of, you know, seeing people successful?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
We're
y'all
talking
are
to
the experts, right? Y'all are the experts. And
Yep.
no,
the
I don't think
select
there's any
few. I
expert.
think you said anybody can get there, right? And I believe that. But I'm anxious to get there.
Well, from
and
what
I
you've
and
been saying, it sounds like you're already doing it. As far as I,
well, I'm trying to connect, and that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to connect because I'm already there, right? And I'm there in the lucid dreams, but I can't connect on kind of on demand, so to speak.
oh, that's not
Right?
always going
Like,
to happen.
Yeah. That's
right. It just kind of happens when it happens, and
Yeah.
I want it to happen more frequently, right?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a little excited, right? It's the ADHD. That's what
Anytime
the
I
American
find out-
coffee treat.
I
You
think
know?
your soul is on its own schedule sometimes, and it just
Yeah.
happens when you don't expect it. When you're expecting it, it won't happen. I mean, it just, you, at least for me, you just never know sometimes.
And you were
It
talking
always seems.
about how you
It
felt
always seems to
excited.
happen at. I'm sorry.
Right? You said you feel like this rush of excitement or something when you out when you
No, I mean that's just. I have a rush, like a sense of urgency, right?
yeah
A sense of urgency to get there, right?
yeah
And so, and to bring that into this reality, so to speak. I mean, I know that's not quite the words I wanted to say, because you know the difference between reality and well, that's reality too, right? But the reality of the physical world, right? The reality of the physical world, kind of. I mean, I already kind of coexist, but it's kind of the crossover there, right?
yeah
Like the
What would it
vision,
look like?
like the visions,
What would it,
and my head. You know, I'm also looking at the physiological effects, right? And when I feel my left brain and right brain syncing, right? And then it almost feels like my eyes are rolling in the back of my head, and then I will push, you know, and there's that sensation when you roll your eyes like that, and I put it. It doesn't hurt, but it, you know, it's just feels different, and I push it hard, and I keep pushing it as hard as I can, like rolling as far back as I can, kind of. And then that's when things start to visualize, right?
Yeah, that's
and
when you get the visions.
picture. And then the other time I was just like floating through, right, in this blue background that you're seeing without the stars, right? And so, right, and taking it, and then it'll fade away.
can you describe the outcome that you're looking for?
I think what I'm trying to do is basically to able to mentally link the existence of the flying, right, that I have, and that's a controlled flight in my lucid dreams that I've been having my entire life, with the direction that I'm pushing on another angle to reconcile those two things. Does that make sense? To have a knowledge that I can link it together, right? So I want to go into this state, and when I get there, I want to have some sort of confirmation for myself, right? That I'm cognizant of this astral projection that I've been doing in my lucid dream.
So have you ever left your body and said, okay, I want to go here and go? Have you ever done anything like
Well,
that?
no. Well, it kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier, because I'm scared.
Oh,
I'm too scared. I'm too scared to let it go. Right.
and then you just snap
and there's
back?
there's a cord, right? And I feel a cord that attaches me to the body. And I can float around, and I've actually gotten a little more risky, and I've like talked to people, okay, my friends, and I'm like, look what I can do, and I'll fly around in the sky, or I will hover up high, and I'll be thinking, well, let's freak them out, right? And then I'll come down and say, hey, check this out, but that's kind of the thing. I mean, at first I was like scared, right? I mean, I was floating up over my body, right? And I think there's some fear element in there that maybe I need to work on releasing.
For sure.
Sometimes you just have to take a chance with it,
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm doing, right? I'm like, just go for it, right? I mean, it's good.
Even
I'm
if you're
following
scared.
it.
Even if you're scared,
And
just go for it.
well, but I haven't been able to get back there, right? And that's why, I mean, when I say I'm in a hurry, because I can't control when they happen.
Yeah.
And so
Lucid
I
dreaming,
want to have that cognizant of it, and make it happen more frequently.
Yeah.
maybe lucid dreaming isn't the best technique for you. Maybe you have to try something different.
Well, that's why I'm trying the astral projection, is I can go where I want to go.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I mean, I don't know if that's if I have enough time for that road. Right.
You have plenty of time.
I mean, yeah. But what I mean is, I don't want to achieve it in 20 years. Like, I'm saying, by the next time we meet, I want to come back and say, wow, guys,
Sounds to me like you're already doing it. You just got to release the fear and just go where you want to go once you're out.
Yeah.
So Juice took 20 years, but William Buellman, who was friends with Bob Monroe, he took 30 days. I took 6 months. So yeah, don't think it's got to be 20 years.
Mine was 20 years, Steph.
I know, I heard.
Well,